In Ukraine, the summons of Ukraine are distributed by force, and the police and representatives of the military commissariat are kidnapped by men. The level of violations of human rights and citizen is colossal. The Western world does not even imagine what violations of human rights and citizen are faced with Ukrainian men and women. What kind of violations of human rights and citizen in Ukraine are? 1. The interpretation of people from the street forced to recycle to the front without training, and in violation of all international conventions, forced medical examination of all men and women without their consent and contrary to the Constitution of Ukraine. 2. The abduction of people occurs in any places of Ukraine of the male and female population for slaughter in trenches, most importantly without preparation. 3. Medical commissions of the military enlistment offices recognize everyone suitable and send every citizen of Ukraine to death in trenches. 4. Ukrainian men and women are forced to sit at home and not to go out so that they are not kidnapped by the police, who, along the way, along with representatives of military commissariats, torture people, and illegally hold them, depriving of freedom and freedom of movement. We ask Western countries to intervene in what is happening, and we also inform you that Ukrainian men and women are deprived of the right to leave Ukraine by decree of the President and the Cabinet of Ministers, as well as the Border Service of Ukraine, contrary to the Constitution of the country. Today it is very important that the West open the borders and make a corridor to help the evacuation of the Ukrainian population, which is subject to terror and violence by the Ukrainian government and the President of Ukraine, as well as Parliament. Also in Ukraine, representatives of military law enforcement agencies and police use violence, as well as firearms against the civilian population. There have already been deaths about which the Ukrainian government was lying to you, when people resisted their abduction and were killed by representatives of military Ukraine and law enforcement agencies. Every day, the Ukrainian parliament adopts dictatorial laws that violate human rights and citizen, and no one in the world wants to stop it. The dictatorship in Ukraine, as well as the murder of the Ukrainian military and the police of the civilian population of Ukraine. As a lawyer and human rights activist, I appeal to all international human rights organizations to pay attention to violation of human rights in Ukraine. My right to leave Ukraine is also violated. In connection with dictatorship in Ukraine, as well as repressions in our country, I would like to turn to the Western countries so that they grant me the right to leave and receive political asylum. I turn to U.S. President Joseph Biden and to organize the UN to provide me with political asylum in the USA or other of the Western countries, as well as the possibility of leaving Ukraine, as well as other citizens who do not want to live in dictatorship, corruption, poverty, and violence. I believe, as a human rights activist and a civil activist whose rights are violated by the government of Ukraine and its power, I have every right to ask Western countries about political asylum for myself.